The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Born to be alive. Yes, we are. You're listening to Rosie Picar on Until Now. And wherever you are in the globe right now listening, I intend for this program to be almost that hour of pure positive power. So if you haven't listened to this show before, those that have sort of know what I'm about, and they understand that this is an Australian accent. I speak very quickly. Those learning English, some of the words you may never have heard of. I use a little bit of slang, but you pick it up as we go along. And for those that want to join the chat, which I absolutely love when you do, go across to w4cy.com and just click on the right-hand side and you can ask your questions as we go. So my intention today, as I said, is for a pure positive power program. I normally speak to guests that I mention. We're ordinary people with extraordinary experience. And what's that difference that makes that little bit more extraordinary from one to another? And what I stated is simply a matter of perspective. And as we alter and change that perspective, it's like a flow-on effect that alters and changes and affects the reality that we're actually living. So I've already love the accent. She's just so precious. Thank you, listeners, and thank you for joining in, because today, as I said, I want this show to be about you and about anything you've got to ask me, because now's our time to get it out there, and there's no such thing as a silly question except for the question that isn't asked, because my intention is to put a positive spin on any situation and at the very least get that lead foot off the negative accelerator. Life doesn't just happen. It's directed and determined by the spin we put on it. And I have learned, I'm known as a success specialist. I do motivational speaking around the globe. I've written, 7 books. I'm currently writing my 8th. And, so this is an area of expertise that there isn't any question you can ask me that after speaking to thousands of people around the globe, one-on-one, as well as in groups collectively, that I probably haven't been asked. Now, I'm just going to catch up with some of these questions here. Why is that? I'm not sure what the why is that referring to. Remember, I speak much faster than what my brain's way ahead and my lips can't keep up. Have you ever seen a dingo? Only on television, the same as you guys. Do you come to the States ever? I actually have lived in America, South Bay, LA, Hermosa Beach, Redondo Beach, around that area. I've also been based in Denver. I've spoken on TV in New York as well as Las Vegas. I've covered probably more of the US and, yes, been to Florida. And there's lots of parts of the US that I absolutely love and adore, and I'm looking forward to being back there again soon. I love the Americans. The reason why is because I love that attitude that is, I've said I've dedicated today to being about pure positive power, and that's something that I endorse wholeheartedly and love about the American energy and spirit of enthusiasm. That you go, girl. I know that's a terrible accent. You can see I'm not going to be an actress anytime soon. That's okay. That's not my profession. I'll stay in my own lane. And part of that is that, when I go over there, everyone is always supportive and encouraging, all about whatever goal or target or objective or dream I'm about pursuing. So that's a remarkable quality which is not uniform in many other countries, because I do get to speak in many other countries, and the Asian countries are fabulous for that as well, because they are quite creative and ingenious and eclectic, and they love mixing it up with many other nationalities to see what more can we create from what we started from. Some areas are very dogmatic and very locked in to a particular state of mind and a particular mentality and a particular way of doing things. So it's more like, leaning up against a brick wall and attempting to get it to move is about the same level of success you have in getting them to change their minds. So sometimes I don't work on changing people's minds. I work on introducing a chink into that armor that they've got structured and built around a mindset that keeps it stuck in the way it is. Now, the only reason I do that is because, some people say, but why do I need to change my mind? And I answer, you actually don't need to change your mind, but how is it the thoughts that you're thinking are working for you? Do they make you feel good, or do they make you feel bad? So today is about discovering ways that we can utilize reframes and our new perspectives, just like we'd get new spectacles, new glasses. They change our view and our vision of the world. So I'm going to work on a really simple analogy today, and this is the purpose for the next 24 hours. I'm issuing a Rosie challenge. It's a Rosie reminder to get us retracking on all that feels good. And as one listener's commented, what if they don't make you feel good? That's exactly what today and what right now is about. This is how we manage to reframe and retrack to move from not feeling good to feeling good. And it doesn't have to be a convoluted, confusing process that so many experts want to make it out to be. It's really, really simple stuff. Those that are listening for the first time, I'm a former law enforcement, over 16 years, 8 years as a cop, another 8 years as an investigator. I met and mixed with a lot of people who said they didn't feel good and had all the excuses as to why they didn't feel good. So that's why I wrote my first book, which was called Time to Kick Butt. And it's not the butt that you sit on. It was the butt in the head that I call an Aussie acronym for bloody useless thoughts. They had their heads filled up with so many bloody useless thoughts, all those excuses, all those cop-outs, all those reasons, all those why they couldn't possibly feel good. And when you've got to fight against all of that, oh my God, it's exhausting just to look at. So we're just wiping the slate clean right now. We're starting from where we're at right now. We're not going back into the past. We can't affect and alter and change that other than how we view it from this moment we're in right now. That's where our point of power lies. And this is how we make that point of power pure. We get rid of what's contaminating and corrupting it. And the fact that we don't feel good, that's really great. Now there are listeners going, wow, this chick's really lost it. She wants us to feel good and she's telling us lousy feels great. Well, it's great as an indicator. It's not a permanent state. You don't take up residence there. You don't pitch a tent and go, yep, this is me forever and a day. No, it's an indicator. It's like right now, my nails are always very strong and very lengthy naturally. And I caught my pinky nail just yesterday about halfway down on where, all the pink bit is, not the white bit, and ripped it. Yes, ouch. And because I caught it so low down, it makes no difference if I cut all the white bit off, it's still ripped halfway down. And I can tell you now, I ain't cutting it there because that's really going to hurt. And I've got an aversion to pain. That's sort of a natural inbuilt human defense systems. And so I've noticed that, most of me is not in pain. There's only a tiny portion, which is less than 1%, that's in pain. And I keep catching this one little bit that's less than 1% on things to remind me that all is not perfect in my world. Now, that's a little bit like, I'm using this as an analogy to understand our emotions. When we have a tiny little bit that's just a frag off, we keep catching it up in other situations that may not be related, that make us feel off. It makes us feel horrible. And off is a really easy state to identify because it's the opposite to everything that we want. We want to feel healthy and strong and vibrant. We want to feel mentally, to have clarity, to feel intelligent, to feel inspired and enthused. There's so much that, we want, and we know when we're aligned with our wants because we feel excited and we feel good. And as some comments have said, so many people settle and stay in that state of being. Yes, they do. It's that death by paralysis. They're no longer living, they're existing. And we do see those people. However, those that are listening obviously aren't those people because you're investing into yourselves at this point in time. So it's only by how we live our lives that we truly demonstrate to others that there is a better state of being, because they see us succeeding and they say, how the hell you do that, girl? What do you got going on? What's different to you that, is different to me? And it's only from that example that we're then able to not teach, because words don't teach. They only inspire someone to introduce something different into their lives that they may not have done before. So most people have the not want for pain. Exactly. It's a human, natural aversion program we've got, that when we feel pain, be it physically in our bodies or mentally and emotionally within our heads and our hearts, that's an indicator to us that something's a bit off. And that bit off, it's up to us to put our focus elsewhere, because I can guarantee while I'm doing this program, I have zero attention. Thank you, one listener, put a bandage with some pain cream on so it won't hurt so much. You know what's even better? Is my mindset. Far more powerful than that Band-Aid solution, because as my mindset goes on, what am I going to share today that leaves a legacy long after I've gone? What's that little bit that I can add on to that someone feels a bit better from having been introduced or interacted with me today? And that gets flowing all my juices. And as my juices, my mental juices are flowing, it stimulates my heart juices. They're all flowing. And the juices is the term I use just for good stuff. That's all it means. As that good stuff is flowing, that energy, which is all emotion is, energy in motion, I don't notice that there's a tiny little bit of me that's off. And it's the same with what I want to share with you today. We can have things that are off in our lives. We can give the attention to it. And as we give the attention to it, it's not surprising we often get caught up by it all the time. However, we have another option. Our other option is we can choose to deliberately alter. We can choose where our attention goes. And this is how we do the reframes. So I'm going to use ROI. ROI, as an abbreviated term in financial sectors, means your return on investment. My ROI is not just on financial terms, it's on life terms. This is your return on the investment that we each put into ourselves. And we get a return on investment not only by what we put into ourselves, but also what we give out to others. So one listener has asked, how do we notice the difference and put it into motion? This is perfect timing, because that's just what I'm up to, which is the remember is the first for ROI, return on investment, is an acronym. Yet again, I use acronyms because it's an easy way to remember stuff and it doesn't make it confusing. So ROI, R stands for remember, O stands for observe, I stands for imagine. This is how we view the world. We either remember it, we observe it, or we imagine it. This is the modalities that it enters our mind. So now my 24-hour challenge that I'm issuing to all my listeners, and to share it with others, give them a 24-hour challenge. 24 hours isn't long, but it'll be interesting to see. I do this when I do a deliberate creation training program, and I give everyone one of those party blowers that you blow and it makes like a trumpet noise that you have at kids' parties. And as soon as someone breaks the challenge, we blow the trumpet horn. Because it's often ourselves that are the last to identify where we're breaking the challenge. Other people can notice it first. So, for example, if I said to you, remember only for 24 hours what serves you. So this means no longer rehashing or regurgitating up any old stuff, anything that's occurred prior to this second right now that doesn't feel good. So if someone didn't pay you back money, someone's ripped you off, someone you feel has, been unjust or unfair in some way, no more energy to it. You're not remembering. For the next 24 hours, you are only remembering from your past history at whatever age and stage you're at in life right now while you're listening, of anything that serves you, anything you remember that makes you feel good. So this is your fuel to move forward. So only remember what works for you. As Dr. Phil will make the comment, on someone continuing a particular behavior, and the Texas dude will say, how's that working for you? So again, that little indicator of pain or stuff not working out, it's our indicator, not a permanent state. So remember only what serves you. After you've remembered only what serves you, and I know there'll be those of you that have the argument and say, but this is leading into my life now, but this is a problem that I have right now, but, that but. Again, we're going to have another part of the challenge, which is there are no buts. So if we can't say but, how do you get something to be for you instead of against you? But I'm jumping a little bit ahead. I'm just giving you a little bit of a heads up that this program is not for the faint of heart. It's not for the weak-willed. It's for those of us that are strong, that are here to make our mark, that are here to leave a legacy in the lives of our own lives, but also all those that we interact with. So, those that are keen to continue on will still be listening. The next part is to observe what helps you. This is how you create your foundations for success. So some people will look at some examples of my life and say, well, Rosie, gee, you had a lot of challenges along the way, and they want me to talk about those challenges. They want me to regurgitate those problems and those painful moments. All that does is makes me relatable to the person listening to it, so that they feel, oh, I've got a reason now to listen to you. Yep, you've really been through some tough stuff, over there in Ante after the tsunami disaster, and, 200,000 lives were lost, and you were there providing trauma therapy. Or when you drove the ambulance, with your mother dying in the back, or when you sat beside your father, holding his hand as he passed away, or when you carried your child that, was almost lifeless in to get care. Yes, you've gone through some tough stuff, and yes, you've met some horrid people through all your years in policing that have been intent on harming or hurting you. Now, I can regurgitate and add energy and colour and, tell those stories that go on and on. That's one way, but that impacts my life, and it impacts it negatively because my brain doesn't understand that what I'm talking about is the past. Now, make sure that's really clearly heard. Everything that we utter out of our mouths, moment by moment, whether it occurred in the past, whether we're talking about it now in the present, or whether we're thinking about something in the future, if we're running it on a negative slant that was painful, that was difficult, that brings back emotion of being upset, that's current. And that is affecting us right now. And that is a pure poison within this program that is our lives. So right now, remember what serves you. Observe what helps you. So for myself, it's like, yep, I can sum it up and say I've done some stuff that, some people, and myself at the time perceive as tough stuff, difficult stuff, hard stuff. However, what it's given me now is those abilities that I am aware of my level of resilience. I'm aware of my level of strength. I'm aware of my level of joy and appreciation and well-being. And I have such appreciation for these things now that without those experiences, I don't feel I would currently have. any bad situation can be flipped around. I wrote in, one of my most recent books, Cracking the Human Code, about a young woman who had been sexually assaulted and so traumatized, but at the time, whilst it was actually occurring and it was a very brutal assault, she was reflecting on the nature that was around her. She was trying to drive her mind in another direction away from what was physically occurring to her at the time. Now, I'm giving it an extreme example so we understand that this works all of the time, in all situations, not some of the time for some of the people. You put it into practice, it can be utilized at all times. It didn't change what was occurring to her at that time. What it did, it gave her power of where she put her moment of attention. Power was not taken away from her. And to this day, she's a successful, independent, family orientated, lovely woman who is living her life to the full, other than to use that incident to help others become aware and more powerful in a similar situation. The other people that attempted to take her power from her and put her in such I don't even want to use the words that put her in that situation, are now incarcerated and behind bars. And they have lots of times to reflect on their attempt to take power from another actually took power from themselves. So we can't take from another and expect to have it ourselves. The universe doesn't work that way. What we give to another is what we get freely for ourselves. So if we can give to another through our own active living, walking affirmation of our own life of what it is that we have going on, they pick up from that. So we remember what serves you. That's the fuel to move you forward. So only use your past. If it's something positive you can reflect on that pushes, that promotes you, that, fills you with all the potentialities of this now moment. So use the past for that. Observe what helps you. And this is a really tricky one because we are constantly observing. We're observing, the traffic jam that's around us. We're observing, the bushy people at the, wherever we're going to when it's crowded in a place. We're observing, with what the weather is, whether it's lovely, whether it's not. Our outward focused eyes are picking up what we're attuned to. I commented ages ago when I was in Boston just last year, and it was very busy and people were rushing backwards and forwards. And I was sitting with my son. And this was at was it at the bus station, a train station, Amtrak train station. And people were rushing everywhere. And I was sitting with my son having a cup of coffee and, he was eating a sandwich. And I thought, people aren't even looking at each other. It was head down and it was just barreling straight across. And I thought, wow, these are moments of your lives that are being missed. Every single moment of our life matters. Don't miss a moment of it. Take that moment. You can still be going to where you're going in a hurry, but you can do that with a different perspective. You can do it that you actually smile and look at the eyes of people as they're passing you, which is actually what I did at that time at Boston. And I can guarantee you people, I swear, they thought, what's she up to? What's she on? Watch out for that one. She's a happy one. Keep your distance from her. Now, I understand there's people that will say, oh, Rosie, there are people out there, they're on drugs and they're on alcohol and they're affected by things. And yes, there certainly are. There's so many issues occurring in the world. However, again, I'm remembering what works for me. I'm observing what works for me. And then I'm going into an even more powerful creative state of imagining what uplifts and inspires me. And as I do that, it has a flow-on effect. And the first person it flows onto is the user, the person who's doing it, which is myself. It extenuates that flow into regular contact with me, which is, my direct, family or people I interact with quite regularly. And then it has a further far-reaching effect of people that I may not see so often, and even people I may never have met. People that have experienced myself either through listening to any of my audio programs on, the Kick Butt website, or that have listened to this radio program or have read any of the books or any of the articles, or, that I've never, ever met, that have never communicated with me, however, that have taken away the seed of one great intention, one great idea, one moment to inspire, and it's had that continual flow-on effect. We don't know where these thoughts of ours end up. The same as, one gentleman I was reading about recently, and I use the word gentleman again very loosely because it's a criminal element, and this gentleman from such a young age had such negative influences again and again and again that by the time this individual was a teenager, everyone had sort of washed their hands off that person and thought there is absolutely no hope for them. And unfortunately, this person, again, whether they didn't get the opportunity, whether they weren't privy to the material, because when you're at that depressed, angered, rageful, violent state, you tend to attract more people that encourage and support that state. And that state stays for a long, long time. And there's more, it's like collecting a busload of information from the past and observing from the present to load up a collective busload of pain and terror that's going on headlong into all those that are directly involved, their future. And this person today, will be lucky to be for release from prison after the age of 70. So, they've hardly spent any time at all on the outside. And again, I'm using extreme examples to understand that thoughts are things. They're very, very real things. And they're the thing that impacts us the most within our life, within our decisions, within our destiny, of that it's operating by default, or we put our hands on the wheel and we're directing it intentionally. So, as some listeners have asked, so how do we know what is going on? We'll use our feelings as indicators of what's going on. Not only feelings, but when you have a repeated thought, a thought that goes on and on and on, and it can be like a chain that connects up to other, maybe unrelated links or topics, however, the same feeling state. A person yesterday I had a conversation with, and they were talking about, how they were successful in a court case against a speeding ticket. And it's funny how just the mention of that brought me up straight away, exactly where I'd left it years ago, to do with an unfair situation around a speeding ticket that ended up with an unfair outcome. And again, before I knew it, it was spewing out of my mouth. There went the words, and I couldn't gobble them back up again. I was already adding on to a situation that wasn't positive. It's almost like it's on automatic, that someone tells us something terrible and we want to share, oh, yes, I had that terrible thing too. Instantly after I've already spewed it forth, I recollected, Rose, how's this working for you? You want to run the energy of that? Is that how you enjoy your life, having to deal with matters in court? No, it is not. So then that was my opportunity to put a positive reframe around it. And that's part of answering the next question, which is, what is the best way to get through the issues that come up in life? For myself, I've found by putting myself in the driver's seat, I'm not at the mercy of other people's thoughts. I'm not subject to the opinions of other people. If I get loved, it's a bonus. If I get hated, that's their decision, their determination. However, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. So my life is in my hands because I am the best person to live it. And the same with each person listening. You are given your life because you're the best person to know exactly what to do and where to go and how to do. You know what your dreams are. You know what your desires and your goals and your aspirations are. And that's where we utilize, our God-given gift of our pure imagination. And bless him, Sadhguru uses the word imagination to break it up, to say I, which is myself as the powerhouse, Magi, which is the original term for like the magician, the genie in the bottle, the power, all powerful power, and a nation of that is what you have, an army of genies all within you, ready to be commanded for whatever your wish is. How amazing is that, to know that you have a veritable arsenal of incredible force and influence right inside you to command. And what order are you given it? You idiot, get out of my friggin' road. Go get a license. Where'd you get it? Out of a Wheaties packet? You know, this is the commands. Think of some of the commands that you're given out every single day. Oh God, this stuff sucks. When's it going to finish? Oh my, you know, the negativity goes on and on inside our heads. You know, we have about, on average, 6,000 thoughts a day. That's a lot of thoughts. So as the listeners asked, do we all have that many inside of us? Oh, we have as many stars as you can see in the sky, and depending where you are in the world, you might reflect a few more than some others. But as many stars as there are, which is billions upon billions, you have far more force inside of you than there is observable outside of you. And that is the truest statement that you will ever, throughout your life, hear. And I want you to hear that, because once you can acknowledge that you are never alone, that you are not left to your own devices or at the mercy of circumstances, you can start to play with this. And playing is where the fun is at. That's why it's imagination. It's a nation of magic genies under your command, ready for you. You know, people use the negative of, you know, when I want to put a positive spin on something, they say, but Rose, look around you. This is what is, you know, face reality. Why the hell do I have to face reality when I can make reality? What I am facing is only the past. It's what I've made in the past. It's not a permanent state. And yes, you're hearing me yelling. It's because I get so excited. And if you could see me, you know, I jump up and down with this, because it's a level of power that people have been dumbed down to. They've been dumbed down to think they're ordinary when we are extraordinary. Beyond measure. We don't have the tools and the devices built yet that are capable of measuring how phenomenal, I'll get that word right, phenomenal, amazing, and astounding and incredible that each one of us is. And this is a powerhouse that we command. The challenge is we command it with our thoughts. We're going, oh God, no. And I keep thinking all this crap. So again, we don't beat ourselves up. What we do now is we're going to put a positive spin on it. So we're going to play the game. We're going to play the game that we're going to, just for today, just for 24 hours. And in that game, you are going to have no buts whatsoever. If someone says a but, you say, well, how's that working for you? You know, which one do you want? The first part of what you said or the bit that come after the but? Which is it? And they'll say it's both. It can't be both. It's like being a little bit pregnant. You can't be not pregnant and pregnant. You can't be positive and negative. You can't be saying something you want and then saying but why you can't have what it is that you want. You know, you're driving a car. It's like driving a car with and you keep putting the foot on the brake. It's like you hit the accelerator, put the foot on the brake, put the foot on. Well, which one are you going to use, the accelerator or the brake? The butt is the brake to what we want. So let's take our foot off it just for 24 hours. And again, I tell people, don't believe everything I say. Go and trial it, test it for yourself. If it doesn't work, throw it in the garbage bin. If it does, keep using it. And for those that say it doesn't work, it'll be like, you know, a young gentleman who, again, he himself is in prison. And I did a program many, many years ago for the long-term unemployed. And when I did this program, I was sharing the skills and abilities of how they could get their minds on board in order to create whatever it is they wanted in reality. And years later, he came along and was mowing my backyard. And he said, I remember you, miss. He said, that crap you taught me never helped me none. And I thought, obviously, Because again, you can't think one thought for 1 hour and think that's the end of it. This is your life. It's like what you eat once is not going to have such a big impact on you. It's what you eat continually. It's what you think continually. It's what you keep feeding yourself. It's an inside job. But this is your inside job in your head. And, your head is your most private, personal space. Get that cleaned up. Get that clutter out of there. Whatever's gone on has gone on. It's been. We give it no more energy today. We're remembering what serves us. We're observing what helps us in the moment. That's foundations for our future success. And we're imagining what uplifts and what inspires us. And there is no limit on what we can imagine. That is our domain where we can come up over absolutely any circumstance and any condition. And as I said, people do get caught up in facts and say, but it's true. Well, all facts are only testimony to the past. They're not facts for the present or future, because your now moment is the decision maker. It's or the deal breaker for negativity. And it can be the director and destiny creator for your future. So don't tell it like it is. Tell it how it interests, excites, delights you. If you can't reach that state, if you're feeling really that caught up and that immersed and that bogged down in some tough stuff, and you simply cannot access thoughts like that, well, then use your humor. Humor is a bit like, the old tea kettles or the steam kettles where you had a cover over it and you could take the cover off and release the pressure from within the kettle. The steam could escape. Humor works that way for ourselves. Stress is a killer. And the more we put ourselves under stress by thinking repeatedly the thoughts that don't serve us, observing the things that don't help us, and imagining the worst of what can happen, that's a level of stress we're putting on that nation of magical force that we have inside us saying, go to work, this is what I want, this is what I'm paying attention to. And as a listener has asked, can that really help release the stress? Oh boy, can it ever. There are so many studies, there's so many research papers just on the effects of pure meditation. And the reason meditation works so well is because you stop. It's like having a timeout from doing that thing you do that's creating pain and difficulty and drama within ourselves. So that's how meditation works. It's a bit of a pattern interrupt for ourselves. However, if we can get involved in 24 hours, if it goes well for 24 hours, do the game again for the next 24 hours. You don't have to make a lifetime commitment to this right now, only if it works well for you. And when it works well for you, it just accumulates. So as we're playing that game with me, there's no buts. There's no, negative what ifs. There is only positive what ifs. So right now we're playing what if, but we're upping the ante. We're only saying, what if, my wildest dream came true? What if, think of what is it that you want so much, whatever it is that you desire so much. And when you think of it, if you feel lousy, get off this game. The rules of the game is you think on things that feel good, that at the very least provide relief. As I said before, we can use our humor. So if we can't reach for what feels good, we use our humor and we will tell it like it is, but self-effacingly. Like, for example, some people use, oh, yeah, I really am Wonder Woman. Just look at me. I'm able to drink my coffee and scratch my butt at the same time. I'm really super skilled. Well, at least you're telling your brain you're capable of more things than one thing at once. It's a play. The only rule to this game is feeling good. And the rule to the game is there is no buts. So we can't say, oh, I would feel good, but right now I have this condition. And exactly right, as someone said, that takes talent. And already someone's laughing. Great, we've got the feel-good juices flowing. That's what you want, and that's what you want for 24 hours. And again, someone says to me, oh, Rosie, but that can't work because of blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, but what if it could? And they said, but it can't. No, but what if it could? What would you tell me if it could work out? What would you tell me if you did have an answer? What if? And I run the what if again and again till it's something positive. Now, generally, a really negative person around me, and I'm playing the what if game, it infuriates the crap out of them. But it infuriates the crap out of them, so then they disappear. Now, one listener said, I got here late, so I don't understand what you want us to do. This is how we're turning on our pure positive power. It's a game we are playing for the next 24 hours, and you're playing it with me. And this game is so that it puts us intentionally and deliberately in the driver's seat of our reality. And we're utilizing an acronym that I say is ROI, return on investment. And the R stands for remember only what serves you. So the past doesn't count anymore unless it's something that you feel good when you think about it. You're observing only what helps you. These are your stepping stones for your success. So whatever is in your now moment crossing your path, if it doesn't feel good to be looking at it, turn your cheek, turn your gaze, look away. And if you're still looking at something that doesn't feel good, go to your imagination. Shut your eyes and start thinking on what uplifts or inspires you. But what if you're riding the car and are not in the driver's seat? Well, the driver's seat is an analogy for our life. And you are always in that car. As a matter of fact, you are the only person in that car. As much as people might want to say, no, but it's my, mum's decision. No, it's my partner's decision. No, it's up to my kids. No buts. You are in that driver's seat. You are in the car, that vehicle that is you, that we are taking the lead foot off the brake, that butt that keeps slowing us down towards our dreams, our goals and destinies of what it is that we say that we want. Some people are destined for success, others are determined. For me, I am determined, and my determination shows up by playing this game. So now, playing the game, no buts. Then we play what if. The what if is no longer looking at what if the worst could happen. We're looking at what if the best could happen. Imagine your most outrageous success in every level: relationships, health, travel, fun, love, absolutely everything. For those that can only do that for about 10 seconds, you need a bit more practice. You've been practicing that other stuff for so long, you think that's just life. No, it's not. I got to tell you, I've been seeing a guy for reflexology, and he said, because physically I had some things going on, and again, I could run that blah or that problem, so I'd tell it really short and sweet. And anyway, so that blah drove me to see the reflexologist to address some of the blah. Through some cupping, through some acupuncture, through, driving some, his bony fingers into me at different points and eliciting temporary pain at that time, I've experienced tremendous freedom since. And when I returned, I've had subsequent visits. And he's checking my chi, my energy levels. And before that, he had been, cupping. Cupping is where they put glass bowls of sorts on parts of your body and they ignite underneath it, and it sucks up a lot of the toxins that are in your body to the surface. So that stagnant blood can be moved through the body. So that's some Chinese medicine, that cupping technique. So yes, I had lots of bruises over me. I had lots of stab marks from the acupuncture and needles, and I had, lots of tender points from his fingers. However, on subsequent return visits, as he's checking my energy, and I said, I've just got so much energy. I'm like Superwoman. I'm ready to take on the world. And he's like, Rosie, he said, your energy's better. He said, but you're only at about 20%. And I said, really? I said, I just feel like I've got so much energy and drive. And he's like, no, he said, you're getting there. He said, but you're about 20%. He said, you just feel that way because you've been running on empty for so long. And again, we get used to certain conditions in our life and we think that's just life. Now that I've had 20%, I got to tell you, I am so excited and I can't even imagine what 40% feels like, let alone 60%. And oh my God, I dread to think at 100%, I'm just going to be a whirlwind and a dynamo. And if you think I talk fast now, look out for then. So, that's the thing with our lives. Once we experience better, the easier it becomes to play the what if game, and the easier it is to keep our attention on why it is we're doing this. And so the last part of the game, and the rule of the game is only to feel good, is to put your attention off how you are going to achieve something, off how you are going to do something, off how you're going to make things happen. The how is not your job. What your job is your why. Why do you want these things to happen? Why is it you want what you want? What is your why? Your why is always personal. And when I do presentations around the globe and I tell them this why, get the why right first, because then you don't get derailed. As you get your why right, and I put up a picture of my young son, and my young son is my why. And the reason why is because he brings me on a daily basis so much joy and entertainment and laughter that he automatically got forefront of my mind for why I choose to do the things I do, why I enjoy the level of freedom that I enjoy, so that I have that more enjoyable time to spend with him. It is my driver for my well-being, ensuring that I'm at my best, that, I keep up with his high level of energy. That is my why. That's not someone else's why. You will know what your own why is of what it is that you want. This is where you give your attention. Now, today in the US, for those listening, I know it's the 8th of the 8th of the, and, that's sort of a bit of a power day. They say it all adds up to a harmony day. But you don't need your stars to align for things to work out for you. You are always in the driver's seat with that ability to align yourself. And you align yourself with that attention on you, on your dreams. We tend as women to put them to the side. We let other people's needs and wants and desires become a little bit more important. We can't, because no one else is driving our car. We're driving that car. So our needs and desires and wants, irrespective of what culture we've grown up in, irrespective, what relationship we've come from, what our peers say, those in careers around us say, all of that makes no difference. What matters is our own minds, our own domain, and they can be influenced by others, but now is the point of power for pure positive power. And you get that pure positive power for 24 hours, you turn it on. Now, I normally always draw a card from the Abraham Hicks collection, and I love how it always relates with what I want to share. And the card I drew today, I laughed as I drew it, and it simply states, the better it gets, the better it gets. So we're the ones starting the flow for it to become better first. So for those that want to have more flow after I've left here today, you can go to www.kickbutt, that's KICKBUT, only one T, or you'll go somewhere else, and I got no idea where, and it's .com.au, because as you're aware, I am Australian, and there's loads more audio there, as well as articles for those that want a foundation for success long after I've left. So remember, I look forward to hearing from you next week how you went with your what if game. Play it with your friends, play it up to the positive, and be the best that you can be. Until next week, I'll talk to you guys then.